Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another segment of Asaph Cafe. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and this is our Valentine's Day show, part two. And this time we have Mr. Arlan Bergoust on my immediate left, and he is our guest, so we'll focus more on him in this edition of Asaph Cafe. And of course, one of our regulars, our aging rocker, affectionately known as Emmett, and we call him our aging rocker, and it's a great comedic character.
It's really good to meet you. Yeah, it's so good to see you in person and be able to talk.
Yeah. By the way, I wasn't really eating many of these. You seem so lonely without any food at all. Would you like these?
Yeah.
I just have my crackers here and my water and.
Now I'm gonna play my theme song since this is your first time, and it fits in with Valentine's Day. I'm not gonna tell you the name of the song, but tell me if you know the song, okay?
Yeah.
See, 1, 2, 3, 4 waters. 1, 2, 3 of us. Mom, I don't think any of the waters have been sipped on. Mind if I borrow one of the extra waters?
Go ahead.
Which one are you drinking? That one or that one?
That was mine. I didn't drink out of it. So go ahead.
All right, thank you.
Do you recognize the song?
I recognize it. It sounds like a TV theme, but I wouldn't know what it is. I've heard it before, definitely.
I'll give you a hint. Burt Baccarat. He's the composer.
Oh, yeah.
Herb Alpert sang it.
Did he play it on Austin Powers? Or?
They may have. I don't know. It's called "This Guy's in Love with You."
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of it.
It's been on easy listening stations for years, you know. That's my other passion besides punk rock is easy listening. One or the two.
That kind of thing just gets me like so. I get weepy thinking about like love, and I love romantic comedies.
Well, we can talk about that in a moment too.
Yeah.
I'm almost done with this song. So Arlan, make yourself happy. Just relax and make yourself home.
Right.
You don't have to worry about anything. Just talk to me. That's all.
Alright, cool.
Just talk to me like you would if we were out in the street.
So you're just like so busy. It's really impressive what you're doing. I'm really
Thank you.
impressed. It's great.
I'll tell you a little bit about me in a little bit.
I appreciate it. You know, people like to see new different things happen.
Sure, I'll tell you a little
all the
bit about
time.
me in a little moment. Let me finish this song. This is such a beautiful song.
Yeah. I just watched Untamed Heart last night. It was a good movie.
Okay, I don't know that
Really
movie.
intense.
Nor do I.
I don't know that film. I'm
Oh,
just
wait,
making a little
Untamed
note to
Heart.
myself.
I remember that. Wasn't that the one about, we forgot to pray briefly. Thank you, O God, for our time together and a little bit of food. Amen. I always start with a prayer. Forgot that last time.
Don't worry about it. It's all right.
Untamed Heart. Wasn't that the one about the cowboy? He was a country singer, but he was an alcoholic.
No, this was like a coming of age Christian Slater, Rosie O'Donnell. No, not Rosie O'Donnell. Marissa Tomei.
Don't know it.
He was had heart condition from early childhood, and his friends said that he had a baboon heart, implant, and nobody really liked him, but she fell in love, and they, and yeah, it was really, really intense, sad and joyful. All
So let me ask you a few questions for the sake of our audience here. I'll give you a quick interview. Your name's Arlan. Are you from Missoula?
I was born in Missoula. Yep.
Okay, do you have brothers and sisters?
I'm youngest of 6.
Oh, okay.
2
now,
sisters and 4 boys.
were you a student at the university?
Yep.
What was your major?
Music.
Oh,
I was,
music.
Learning composition and.
Excellent. Okay, and I assume you've written some songs of your own?
Yeah, I've tried lyric stuff, but it's hard for me to really feel comfortable sharing the lyrics stuff.
That's okay. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I was just wanting to get a feel, learn a little bit about you there.
Little short piano pieces. So I've been doing a lot of experimenting that.
Would you like to play a song on the piano on television here?
I could, yeah. It's not.
All right, let's trade. That's all right. Just play something. We'll trade spots,
Oh, okay.
and we'll have you play a song. We'll have someone on my own show play a tune,
Wonderful.
and then we'll switch seats again.
What an honor.
That's okay. Hey, this show is impromptu. This isn't Star Search. This isn't The Voice.
Okay.
You know. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm still the host. This is still Asaph Cafe, and we're gonna have Arlan just impromptu play a tune. Just play a song, whatever you want to play.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, it's very nice. I liked it.
You know, this is only I've been doing this show for almost 2 years. You're only the second person that's ever played the piano on this show outside of me. The first one was a little 6-year-old little girl we had on here.
It's so great.
She played like little children's things. So what I did was I stood next to her, and when she was playing, I just added some notes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a cute little
Yeah,
thing.
I played once. You know, that song.
I remember that. Yeah, let's trade seats and get back to... Thanks, Arlan, for playing that.
Thank you.
So anyway, you know, because I said the show is impromptu, so if you didn't even know you'd be playing the piano on TV, you'll see yourself about a week or so from now.
Yeah, well, you know, if you want to stay lighthearted and...
Yeah, that's all it is, just lighthearted. That is the format of this show. We don't get into the heavy stuff like most shows, and I chose to keep it light because there's enough of that heavy stuff on all these shows. Right. So when I created this show, I wanted to have just a simple, fun, and we've talked about everything from like Wonder Woman, mail order brides, to people's hobbies, you know. And since you're our guest today, that's why I was asking you some questions here. So, getting back to you were studying composition at the university?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I guess it shows in that song you just played.
It's really fun to sit and just work on something for a long time. You just have this space, and you're just working on it for like an hour maybe, and it's hard not to try to rush through it and just
take your time.
Get it done, but you know.
Yeah, but do it right. I've done a little bit of composing, and so I can relate to that. But I'll tell you a little bit about me since we haven't actually talked. I am from Sacramento, California.
Yeah.
And I graduated in 1976 when I was in, senior in high school. Yeah, I graduated in 76. And I did student teaching for 2 years as a teacher's aide when I first graduated at my old junior high school. And then when I was 19, I got a scholarship at the San Francisco Conservatory, and I went there for about a year. And then I got my first job in Hollywood or Los Angeles when I was 21.
Was that something you just decided I need to go to a place where there might be work for me?
Yeah, and I landed my first job when I was 21 at Loyola Marymount University, and for me, that's how my whole career started. So, awesome. Yeah. And over the years, I've done things like I've played for the Salvation Army. I've done weddings, community events. I played in Vegas when I was 26 with Pat Guidry and the High Rollers. I took a job in the daytime. As, you know, they used to have these like change persons, at the Tropicana Hotel. And in those days, they used to like have people walk around and just give a change for $1. Squeeze this button and 4 quarters will fall out. And at night, I went and played at the Marina Hotel, which was next to the Tropicana at that time. It's called the MGM now, but at that time.
So you've been on play for a long time. You're not just like sort of learning now.
No, I've been doing this since I was 10 years old. I mean, I can do normal stuff. I'll do a piece of Moonlight Sonata to give you an idea. Oh, I've been playing the piano since I was 10. And I've done a lot of concerts and things over the years. But see, now I live in Missoula, so I don't do as many concerts here in Missoula as I did when I was in California and Vegas,
There's not as much demand for it here.
But see, that's okay. I've gotten older too, and I wanted to get away from the big city, and that's one of the reasons I moved here.
Right. My sister used to know that song. She played it on the piano. We took piano lessons musicians together as kids growing up. We lived in Stevensville for a
But
long
see,
time.
yeah, when you do classical music, it's hard to do it on these electronic instruments because the action of the keys is not very good. See.
Well,
I'll play it for
that
you.
Song, though.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, God has blessed me over the years, and I think the best way you can honor the good Lord is use your talent. Just use it, you know.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool having you on here today, impromptu guest, and you're hearing Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata as I'm talking to you.
Across the street at Break Espresso, checking the email and found out my friend was over here, so come over to say hi and visit.
Well, you're on TV right now.
Yeah.
I'll play this for you. But I like classical music, but it's just hard to play this kind of stuff on these electronic instruments here.
Right. It still sounds like a beautiful piano.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And I've done a lot of music with electronics, and I used to just really get into the weird type of sounding stuff, and all the crazy drum machine stuff you can do. So I've kind of gotten away from that a little bit, so I could learn the classical piano side of things.
Are you talking about electronic music?
Yeah.
There used to be a program years ago, if you remember it. It was called, it still is on, it's totally different format. Oasis, KUFM radio.
Yeah, definitely.
This guy would play nothing but electronic music, and it was wonderful with synthesizers.
Oh, really?
It was great.
Well,
I
for
loved
that
it.
kind of music, it's good. But when you're doing like Chopin and Beethoven on these
Exactly,
instruments,
it
it's
is,
not
you're
the
right.
same because it's just so monotone, as you can hear on this here. It's just turn the volume up and that's it. See.
I used to record that, and unfortunately, I think one of my tapes got lost. But a lot of it sounded like beautiful space war music, like something you'd see in a science fiction opera. Dun 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 dun. It was wonderful, just exciting, and some of it was beautiful and very haunting, just like it, and like this, only played with synthesizers, and it just
synthesizer.
worked.
Well, they do that now too with like Hearts of Space or
Oh yeah,
Echoes.
do they even have Hearts of Space on anymore?
I think it's on Thursday night at 10. Still.
Amazing.
Not sure about. I haven't listened to it recently. But
Yeah, but I used to. They have someone totally new, and she just plays kind of this mellower music. I don't really care for it. I keep forgetting to listen, but it's just not the same as it was in the 80s. In the 80s, I always listened to Oasis. Just man, I loved that.
Night Flight too is a good one. I like
Yeah, it's
that.
okay. Then do you remember Alien Radio?
Yeah. What is that? I forget.
George Rich, I think, did it. Yeah, that.
Was that electronic music?
No.
New wave. New age.
I don't know how to describe it. I do not know how to describe it. It's one of my favorite forms of music. I guess I've never discussed with you, Asaph, what Alien Radio is or what that kind of.
No, I don't even know
bizarre
what that
music-
is. But you guys don't talk about the goat. I'm just playing right now.
It was at 11:30 a.m. at Wednesday. Not 11:30 a.m. at night. And I asked George Rich, or whatever was doing it, what is Alien Radio? What does this mean? Is this music from another planet or something? He said, no. It is music that is so weird, it would alienate people. We hope people are not awake listening to this. And I said, I gotta listen to this. And it was these underground groups, really underground groups like Ronaldo and the Loaf.
See, I don't know them at all.
Yeah, and the Residents.
Oh yeah.
The Residents, Captain Beefheart, and some others that would play the weirdest. It would be like if you had a whole bunch of instruments and even a piano, just in the most atonal way, esoteric, dun 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 dun, dun and flutes going, blun, 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 and the weirdest lyrics like choo choo gum choo gum gum choo 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 gum choo gum gum choo choo, and banging on the piano, bang bang bang, and people are saying choo choo gum choo gum gum choo choo bang, and then the piano go bang choo choo gum gum, and just about chewing gum, and that's it.
I see.
I've heard Japanese.
And the strangest lyrics that I didn't even go up. The Residents did up, down, go up, go down, go up, to go down, pull down, pull down. This violin that was, they were just destroying this violin. Go up, go down, go up, 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 up. I just, whoa, what is this?
Okay,
Incredible.
since you mentioned Japanese music, I'm going to play something. Tell me if you've ever heard it. And don't say a word in case you know it, all right?
Yeah.
Let's see if he knows it.
I live under a rock. I don't get exposed a lot. And I don't have a great memory for stuff. So.
Recognize it?
Nope.
I don't have a good memory for popular stuff. That's awesome. That sounds great.
Don't recognize it?
Is it a national anthem?
Close.
It sounds,
That
Don't
is
know.
a Japanese television show called Johnny Sokko and his Flying Robot. That was the theme song. When I was a little boy, my father was stationed overseas in Asia. We lived in Taipei, Taiwan, and they had like all those kind of shows. Huh?
I was there for a couple months in Taipei.
Yeah, we lived there about 2.5 years, something like that. And they had all these like shows, like this Johnny Sokko and his Flying Robot, and I think it was Speed Racer and some of those other. And then the most famous was a show called Ultraman. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
That was my favorite.
Yeah, well, they're all in that genre. And I used to watch Ultraman when I was a kid.
I know, I loved it.
And, I have two moms. So my birth mom, when we lived overseas, she'd take me and my brother to the movie theater on Saturdays when we were in Taiwan. And we'd watch all these Godzilla movies, like Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, and all that. And, it was only 25 cents
Oh, yeah.
at that time to go into a movie theater on the weekends and watch these movies.
I miss the dollar theater. I used to love going to the dollar theater. We don't have that here.
I know, we don't anymore.
But of all those, like, so-called, what do you call it, Japanese cartoons and things, my personal favorite of those is Ultraman. That was an interesting... Are you familiar with Ultraman?
No, I'm not.
Well, basically, Ultraman is from M78, this planet, way out in the galaxy. And he was chasing... this monster through space, well, it's science fiction.
Right, of course.
Anyway,
yeah, I
the
love
monster
science fiction.
he could fly a spaceship,
Fascinating.
So he's like flying a spaceship through space, right? And Benla was his name. The monster, he looked like Godzilla. He's in a little spaceship, And Ultraman was in his spaceship, and they were chasing each other. And they went through the Earth's atmosphere, and Hayata from the Science Patrol happened to be flying his ship through there, and Ultraman accidentally crashes into Hayata's ship while pursuing Bimlar.
I forget all about that.
That's the pilot episode. And so Ultraman feels bad for accidentally killing Hayata, so what he does is he decides to sacrifice his own life for Hayata, so they become one.
Okay.
And so when Hayata is Hayata, he's in his human form. And when he gets in trouble... Yeah, he's still with the agency. And so when he gets in trouble, he has what's called a beta capsule, where he'll click this beta capsule, and then he turns into Ultraman.
Yeah.
And so since Bimlar was on the Earth, the Science Patrol couldn't get this creature off the planet. So eventually Hayata turns himself into Ultraman to get in this big fight like Godzilla, and wipes him out. Ultraman wipes him out. And so then from that pilot episode, all these monsters start showing up on the Earth.
Cool.
And whenever the monsters get on Earth, and Hayata and the Science Patrol couldn't handle it. Excuse me.
That was a sweet show.
When they couldn't, goodness. When they couldn't handle it, turn into Ultraman.
I think it sounds great, yeah. Sounds great.
He's not... he's not like a mechanical. He's not a robot, but he's like a giant...
No, Ultraman was like this
force.
big superhero.
Yeah.
Whereas Johnny Sokko and his Flying Robot, it was a giant robot. About the size of Godzilla. And what was interesting about Johnny Sokko, when they first created the robot, whose ever voice entered the program of the robot had control of the robot. And so the bad guys were trying to get this robot so that they could speak And their verse would be, and then they'd have control over the robot. And this was a powerful robot. He could fly. He could shoot missiles out of his fingers. And somehow Johnny Sokko was like a little kid. He was getting a tour of the place where they were building the robot. And somehow he gets to mess around with the equipment like kids do. And he speaks accidentally into the microphone, and the robot hears the kid's voice. And so once that happened, they had to recruit this little boy into the program and train this kid how to use that robot to fight the monsters and the bad guys. And that's how it became Johnny Sokko and his flying robot.
Wow.
And so when the kid gets indoctrinated and he learns how to operate this robot. And boy, they were kicking some serious behind on that show. I mean, this robot had what's called a mega punch. And so like, and you hear all this metal sound when he was punching a monster. And a little boy said, "Giant robot, fly!" And the thing would fly, and he goes, "Giant robot, shoot the missiles!" And he would shoot the missiles. Yeah. Now the mega punch, and then that thing would.
Sounds like a perfect source for sampling for electronic music to have in the.
Yeah, it would be. It was a total accident. The government had spent all these millions of dollars to create this robot, and this kid accidentally speaks into the microphone.
Amazing.
So they had to recruit him because once one voice goes in, nobody else can operate it. That's just the way it was created. So it was cool when that robot's flying through the air and the kid's like sitting on his palm like this, speaking to the robot what to do and where to go and that kind of thing.
He doesn't become the robot. It's not like.
No, the kid doesn't become a robot. The robot was already built.
And the robot is his personality. He's commanding the robot.
Yeah, he's commanding the robot. Yeah, the robot's not human. It's just a robot. Yeah. But whosever voice would activate the robot, and then the robot would do whatever the voice said, and nobody else could program it.
Was the robot giant? Like Ultraman?
Yeah, he was like. Yeah, he was giant like Ultraman. He was like big, giant robot.
It's like huge, like.
Huge, yeah.
30 stories.
And so when he take a step, you hear this.
Interesting, yeah.
And it was so cool. Just think of the Tin Man on the Wizard of Oz, this big giant. And when he would swing a punch, you hear this metal going when he hits the monster and knocks the monster halfway across the mountains or something. Yeah. It was just such a cool show. But that was the theme song. I'll do it again.
We don't have that sort of fiction going on as much right now.
Sadly, I agree.
Kids aren't learning. They're getting like all fed up with the society that they just turn on everybody.
Yeah, it's horrible. I agree.
Creation.
I agree.
Invention.
I agree. Yeah.
Fiction.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
That was the theme.
I have some friends that like write for episodes and stuff, different shows, and that's really great. I wish more people would get into that. Write episodes.
I agree. They don't. Even on the Cartoon Network, it's just garbage. Teen Titans or something. It's just, no kid wants to watch this, or even just. The closest they have is on Disney Channel, Star Wars Rebels, and even that can sometimes be boring and slow. They need more lasers and action on that show. You'd think it would have just nothing but lasers, but
Yeah, well, that was the theme song to Johnny Sokko and his flying robot, and you may remember the theme song to Ultraman.
Everybody's so serious.
I know, exactly.
They've got all this information, they have to go change the world. And
I know.
Yeah,
it is, yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want to try and change the world, but you gotta have a little fun.
Yeah.
Imagination.
That was one of the themes on my old show. That's something I talked about sometimes, yep.
Oh, so you know the theme song for Ultraman too?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, I've been doing this since I was a kid. And there's, when you take a song and just play it at random, there is a trick to it. See, you probably can relate to this since you study composing. When you do classical music, it's called ROTE, rote, which means note for note.
Yes, that's
and that can be pretty restricting. Whereas when you do, like, say, jazz improvisations or picking up a melody, it's not based on ROT, it's based on chords and scales. You have to have an extensive knowledge of chords and scales to be able to improvise your way and fake your way through a tune. And I was trained to do that, so I'd been doing it for years and years. So yeah, when I do Ultraman...
Just to even recall how it starts and the melody, with so many different melodies.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really know how to learn songs too well. It's hard for me to
gonna stop right there. Well, I could teach you how to do that because there is a trick to it. You have to, like I had a student about a year ago. You may know her, Robin Elaine Dent.
No, I don't.
I think her husband works at the Wilma Theater.
Oh.
Well, she was like a lot of people. They do everything structured, just note for note. And I gave her piano lessons for something like almost a year. And then the group that she was associated with, they started noticing some changes. They started noticing she's getting out of the box a little bit, and it worked for her.
That's great.
But yeah, when you do those things like bebop jazz and all that, you have to put the classical training in the back seat. You have to disregard all that and go on chords and scales. Like, for example, you know what a scale is, right? When I do a scale, let me do it. I'll demonstrate it. Let me do the C scale. Now, this is pretty straight, right?
Yeah.
Now, suppose I did that scale in chord form. Can you hear it? Can you hear it?
There's minors and majors.
Yeah. And when you listen to the bottom note, see, the ear wants to listen to this top note. Can you hear it?
Like
See? Yeah. So you have to reprogram your ear when you're learning those techniques, and you listen for the bottom note. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
And you can hear the scale, see?
Yeah, so then
But you're playing that major scale in chord form. So by the time you do that in all 15 keys, and you really get it down, then when you go to do a song like, let's say, what's that song? See? Cat in the Cradle. You know, because you can think of whatever key you're in, and you can see in your mind's eye all the chords that go with that key. Like, let's say I'm in the key of F, which is this key. See? Can you hear all those chords? You do all 7 of those notes in chord form for each key. And then eventually you're going to be able to hear it in your inner ear.
You would do that for if you're learning a new song, you do it for that key that song.
Yeah, and you use the chords in the key, whatever key you're in.
Yeah.
That is how so many people can improvise their way, because they have this extensive knowledge. And when you're practicing, you just do it in slow motion and give your ear time to hear. Like, we're in the key of F here. Listen to the bottom note, okay? See? You hear it? See? And that's a crude analogy, but that's how you get started in popular music or bebop or whatever. You have to learn these chords, you have to learn these scales, you have to learn your scales in chord form so that you can hear it, so that when you're playing, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And, I like classical music, but it is so restricting because it's literally on the page. And so it's kind of cool when you see somebody play, like, say, a Chopin nocturne, and they're adding a few notes like Horowitz used to do, or Liberace, and it was always fun. Here's the nocturne in E flat. It's just kind of, Now, suppose you did something like this.
It's already going slower, and you're just listening to the direction it might go.
Yeah, something like that, See?
That's more spontaneous.
It's the same song, yeah. And then you can do something like, oh gosh, I've heard piano players, that play popular music, like say Roger Williams or Liberace or somebody. They'll take those songs and add a bunch of things. They might do something like this. Something like that. That's a crude analogy, but it just makes it fun. And I know it goes against traditional classical music, but I look at it like this. You don't want to play some concert piece the exact same way somebody else plays.
Yeah.
Now, here's a good example. Remember when you were a kid growing up and you had to learn your alphabets and then you developed your handwriting style? All 3 of us had to go to learn our ABCs. Like, they had a capital A and a small A. Remember that? You have your way of handwriting. I have my way of handwriting, and you have your way of handwriting. Now, if you were to try to handwrite like me, you'd frustrate yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
It's the same principle with classical music. You know, you've got these teachers. They're always telling some piano player, "You got to play that thing like Van Cliburn. You got to play exactly like this guy." And it's just like trying to handwrite.
Yeah.
Whereas if you take, let's say, a concert piece, and you learn the notes and the ABCs, and then you express it your way, and you play it your way, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Here's a good example. Here's a nocturne in F sharp. You know this song? Have you ever heard the song?
I have the same problem with identifying smells, or, you know, like if I was to this lemon, I wouldn't be able to tell it was lemon. I might think it was grapefruit or something. So I hear the songs, I recognize it totally. I know it's something, but I can't really place it.
Well, here's another thing, and I'm not being critical of classical music. I think classical music's beautiful. The problem I have, and I wasn't the only one when I was at the conservatory. You've heard of these periods of histories, like the Romantic era.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let's do it in order. There was the medieval and the Baroque era.
Mm-hmm.
You remember all that, studying that? Now here's my point. By the time the classical era came, tissue if you need it. By the time the classical era came, around 17 something, they had people like Chopin and Beethoven. They were writing all that beautiful music. Now here's my point. What about, say, 1,000 years before classical music came out? They had music then, and it wasn't classical music like we know it today. So to sit there and tell someone that by the time the 17th century comes, and then of course we're in the 21st century, right? So my point is, if you just tell someone that they just have to do only that music of the 17th century, when there's so many fields of music, there's pop, rock, funk, soul, country, rap, whatever, you know? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so there's just so much to choose from. There's old hymns, there's religious music, there's everything.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't just tell someone that they just got to do nothing but just Chopin or Beethoven or Mozart and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And when I was at the conservatory, that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to mold you to do this, and then when you do a Chopin piece, they want you to do it a certain way. And there were a lot of people that rebelled at this school. I was one of them. I wasn't like the leader, but you know who the leader was that rebelled?
You still made it through, all right. You got through. Did the.
That's fine. Yeah. But see, to conclude this part of the story, I had a friend. His name was John. He was at the conservatory, and he was studying Pagliacci.
Pagliacci?
Yeah, Vesti La Juba. You know, that he was singing all that tenor stuff, right? And he was like, I am not singing this opera all day. I'm going to start doing other stuff. So he was doing the opera, but he was doing other stuff. And I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Because when he would do, say, Vesti La Juba or some of those other songs, it sounded great.
You could hear some of the other influences in there.
Yeah, well, he sounded just like Mario Alonso to me. And he was a personal friend, but he was like, he would rebel. He's like, I'm going to sit up here, I'm going to do some standards. I want to do some Sinatra or something. He'd do it, of course, opera style, whatever, but it was cool.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
But we had these by the book teachers that just made all the students there, including myself, just want to do everything, you know. And it was just so frustrating, and I just think it's too restricting.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, 1,000 years before classical music came out, they had music. They just didn't have television back then and tape recorders to record it, you know.
It's a cycle.
You know, that's all.
The teachers learned those songs, and that's what they know, and that's what they can teach. So
yeah, well, I'm not being critical. I mean, and you know, another thing that helped me snap out of that, when I left the conservatory and I got my first job in Los Angeles when I was 21, I was playing for Loyola Marymount University. And there was a student there who was friends with Bumps Blackwell, who was Little Richard's manager, the singer, you know, Tutti Frutti. And I got the opportunity to meet this manager, and he went on to become my teacher. Wow. And I studied with him for 3 years after I left the conservatory, and after, and I was still playing at Loyola and studying with this guy. And he had the same principles, you know. I mean, the conservatories would be asking him to teach, and he would decline because he didn't want to get caught in that restrictive mode. This man could teach classical music, he could teach rock, pop, everything. And he taught, you know, composing and everything. You know, you can look him up on a computer, Bumps Blackwell. He wrote that song, You Send Me, that Sam Cooke made famous. You know that song, Darling, You Send Me, or however it is?
No, play it. What is it?
Yeah, it goes something like this.
You send me... Wish I could sing it with you.
You send me that ham cooked sandwich? Is that what it, or you send me the what?
No, the name of the song is called You Send Me. Sam Cooke was the singer that made it.
Oh, I thought you said the lyrics were you send me that ham cooked sandwich.
No, it's a love song.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is Bumps Blackwell wrote that song.
I see.
And I was lucky enough to study with him for 3 years, and he taught at the conservatory level.
I see.
But he would take the conservatory training and use it for the other genres of music instead of just conservatory. And this man has worked with Ray Charles, Herb Alpert, Sonny Bono, Quincy Jones. You know, all those names. Bumps worked with all those people.
I wasn't exposed really to this whole background and history, you know, growing up. We were from Montana. I mean, my mom got into, like, she loved Luciano Pavarotti and...
Yeah, he came to our school. He came, I saw him in real life.
Introduced to classical music, you know, watching Amadeus with my mom. She's like, this is, you know,
I saw that movie.
Music, and so she kind of introduced me to that, but I didn't get really exposed to all this background, and I'm only just now hearing about, like, Cole Porter.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, a lot of these people, a lot of these people had some intense classical training. But the reality is, we live in the 21st century, and, you know, if you're just going to make a living playing nothing but classical music, good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't mean that critically when I say that, because I've been in situations where I'm playing at hotels and stuff. Nobody comes up and says, hey, do you know Prelude in C by Bach?
Yeah.
You know the song? Or a Moonlight Sonata, you know? They want to hear something like, hey, I want to hear Night and Day, so you go, you know. See? Sinatra's Night and Day, for example.
I might have to look that one up and try to learn it.
Yeah, it's been on the Lawrence Welk show, yeah.
I'm going to stop there, but see, that's my point. There's nothing wrong with classical music, but it's just limited. It's very limited, especially in the 21st century. The only reason why it worked so well when it was first written is because it was new.
Yeah.
That was their popular music of the year at the time.
Amazing.
Franz Liszt and all of that, and it was new. But as the centuries went by and as we got into the Romantic era, you know, like the old Negro spirituals, they started expanding. And then people like Cole Porter and all those people came up in the 20s and 30s, and Louis Armstrong in the 1910s and stuff, and they were just kicking out current stuff for that time, and it just kind of expanded. So that's why, you know, you should be well-rounded, in my opinion.
I agree.
Do it all.
One of the films at the Documentary Film Festival coming up is about Bill Evans. And
Bill Evans. Oh, he was a brilliant composer.
Heard about him in the last week.
There'd be no Miles Davis if it weren't for Bill Evans. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard Miles Davis, but that guy was probably one of the greatest trumpet players that ever lived. I mean, holy cow. Nobody plays a trumpet like Miles Davis, especially that Kind of Blue. You heard that Kind of Blue album?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it goes something like this. It doesn't sound good on the piano as well. It goes something like this.
He really takes his time with it. There's a lot of space in there.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Dissonance there, and he goes back. But that Kind of Blue album, that is considered the greatest jazz album of all time to this day. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I guess Miles Davis was just at the right place at the right time in his life when they recorded that. And I know he's gone now, but if he were here, the legacy of that album alone. Do you know, I mean, they have documentaries and TV shows using that music on that album alone. So that's my point. You know, you don't have to just do Chopin all day long.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking, if the Lord tarries, I don't think he will, but let's say we're still living in 500 years, and we're going in outer space, they'll probably have music like on Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Yeah, no telling. Yeah, think about that. If you use your imagination, no telling if the world is still here, say 500 years from now, you and I are all long gone. You don't know what kind of music they're going to have.
Exactly.
And I seriously doubt that 500 years from now, they're going to be telling people, you still got to just do nothing but Chopin in the 17th century, even though we're like in the year 30 or 40.
Exactly.
40 something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they sort of, when I started in school, it was like, you have to do what has always been done. And
no, you don't.
New stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and that was the idea back in the Renaissance too. You have to, if you're going to write a song, it has to be on one of the themes that's established. You know, one of the Gothic themes.
So I just try to tell people there's nothing wrong with the classics and stuff.
Yeah.
You want to learn that, fine. But there's other musics out there.
There is.
And that's the problem I've always had with some piano teachers over the years or whatever. They want you to do just nothing but that. I mean, there's old religious music. There's hymns, too. Like the old Rugged Cross. Oh, my goodness. You don't leave that song out.
Yeah. Do you know how to play that one?
Yeah, I'll do that for you. I'll give it,
I like that hymn.
I'm watching our time. I'll play it for you. This is my version of it.
Yeah. Yep, same here.
I wouldn't have known it was him or Old Rugged Cross.
Yeah, this is called the Old Rugged Cross.
Yes.
It's an old hymn.
Very old, yep.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Human error on that note.
I didn't notice.
That's sort of a classical version of it.
Yeah.
But see, that's my point. You don't have to take that hymnal and just play it where it sounds something like this. That's fun.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
That sounds more Christmas.
Yeah, you go to those Baptist churches. I'm not picking on our Baptist friends. You know, they get those little hymnals, and there's always this piano player, doing something like this here.
Yep. Yeah.
It just sounds like you're at a funeral or something.
I know.
And there's nothing wrong with that style. That's just a different style of playing. So I want to fancy it up a little bit. Now I can see it if you're in an actual church service. If I were in an actual church service, I've done them. Then I don't throw all those tricks in there.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's like, if they're like having like an altar call, for example, and people are praying, and you're not going to be doing all that. But the point of this whole thing is there's just so much music out there. You don't have to do it a certain way.
Exactly.
Now I can see it if you're doing a soundtrack for Disney and there's a specific thing. That's different. But other than that, there's music's out there. So much. Because we didn't have the technology 1,000 years ago. They had to have had singers like Sinatra back then for whatever music they did then, 1,000 years ago. There was no Chopin then because Chopin wasn't born yet. So that's why I have such an issue when people say you just have to do 17th century music, as far as the classics.
Exactly.
That's all. Or 18th century,
yeah.
Whatever,
Well, even though I love easy listening, I love punk rock and heavy metal. You know that.
Yeah, and I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. I've heard some interesting heavy metal, punkish kind of songs.
No, I don't have an instrument. Yeah.
We gotta get you on with the guitar.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of heavy metal, I learned this on the heavy metal channel at 916 on Music Choice on cable. Did you guys know if you ever love Motorhead? I know you're probably not familiar with Motorhead. Lemmy, I can't even remember. He kind of looked like an old biker. He was really cool. I love Motorhead. One of my Motorhead album got stolen from an old apartment, but Lemmy died last year in December of cancer, just 2 days after he was told he had cancer. So Lemmy, a legend of heavy metal rock music, has passed away just last year. Yep. So that kind of made me upset. Not really upset, but it's like, oh boy, Lemmy, the legend, did Motorhead. He's so famous for so many albums. He passed away. Yep, and he was really kind of getting up there, in health-wise and the whole thing. His last album was 2015. Yeah, and he did an excellent song thunder and lightning about what it is to be on the road, and dun dun dun, I love being on the road. All
right, let me play this. Tell me if you know this song. You may know it, so let's see if you can figure it out.
Chariots of Fire? That's now reduced to the piano.
This is my version.
You're sounding like an orchestra.
I don't know what it is.
David Boy's Let's Dance. I'll do it again.
Oh.
Here's the beginning. David Boy, Let's Dance.
Yeah.
You recognize it?
No, I don't.
I do, definitely. That's getting a little modern. I've heard some older stuff from you, but not David Bowie.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
The only thing I like from David Bowie
instrument.
passed away too.
Yeah, but see, that's my point.
Yeah.
You wouldn't hear a piano version of Let's Dance by David Bowie.
Yeah.
Unless Asaph's playing it.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
And there's probably some other guy like me somewhere in the U.S. There's probably a zillion folks that's like, hey, I'm going to learn some David Bowie.
Yeah.
So let me do an excerpt of some stuff that you wouldn't hear on the piano every day. Just have fun with Mick Jagger. See?
Wearing the appropriate shirt.
You recognize song?
No, is that the? No, I don't.
Painted Black.
What?
Painted Black.
By what group?
The Stones.
I never got into the Rolling Stones. Yeah.
Do you ever want to paint everything black?
Nope.
I thought it might be cool, but it never actually wanted to.
I'm going to stop right there because these keys are not working as well as I'd like it to. But yeah, there are a lot of stuff you can do, and not just piano. You don't have to just do all the Chopin. You can make stuff up. If you, like, know how to improvise. You can get in front of a keyboard. And here's another song you won't hear on the piano every day.
Did I hear you play some Michael Jackson sometime?
You might have. You know this song?
Nope.
Secret Agent Man.
Oh, I never watched that show either. What was it about? A secret agent? I
Pretty
thought
much,
so.
yeah. Or this Michael Jackson, for example. Here's my version of it.
Let's see. Beat It. Yeah.
Recognize it?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
I wonder if you might add a little of the percussion.
I don't know.
I don't know how you would do that, but you could use some. Because you picture him dancing and singing it.
Yeah.
This is a little classical version of this song.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Something like that. You know? I mean, you can do a lot of stuff
Yeah.
when you learn your chords and scales. Or like, have you ever watched a show like Letterman? And you see a movie star in there and they start singing, right?
Yeah.
And they're singing by themselves. All of a sudden, the band start figuring out.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then by the time they get to that song, that whole band's playing. It's those same principles.
Yeah.
You'll hear this one little note, like some trumpet player might just start playing a note, or some drummer or something, and all of a sudden the band just figures it out. On the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, when you learn all the other genres of music, with the exception of classical music, you have to reprogram your thinking.
Yeah.
You have to take that classical stuff and put it on a hanger in your closet.
Yeah.
And focus on the principles and the laws of popular music, which is chords and scales and inversions, which you've probably heard. You have to have an extensive knowledge of that.
Yeah.
And also, if you want to get into, say, the blues or jazz, I'm going to do what's called a blues scale. I'll just do it plain. That's pretty straight, pretty plain. Now let me swing it. The same exact notes. I didn't do anything different. And you see how it has that kind of bluesy?
Yeah.
And then when you start making stuff up, you got some chords in there. Well, I missed a note, but you know what I mean. That, and you hear that. That's a crude analogy of what I just did, but this gives you an idea. Yeah. So you have to know your scales.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you gotta know it in what key. Like if that was in the key of C, if you do the same thing, say in B flat. Something like that. Just gives you an idea.
That's a tough one.
Well, that just gives you an idea. That's a crude analogy.
Black notes? Or
Yeah,
no, that's
pretty much. Key of B flat.
Yeah.
B flat minor. So, you get an extensive knowledge and you do the same universal principles for all 15 keys. Majors, minors, and stuff. And then you can cut loose like Louis Armstrong or Dizzy Gillespie or John Coltrane or any of those people that you might know.
I'm still unfamiliar with
or
a lot
Oscar
of it,
Peterson, even Bill Evans, Miles
about
Davis. Yeah, you take your classical training and you can incorporate it sometimes. But as far as learning this stuff, you gotta. It's different finger patterns, different everything.
Well, then there's memorizing. Don't you still have to memorize stuff?
Well, yeah, but you do it slow. You're not gonna learn improvisation in 1 month. It takes years of work, starting out in sections and slow like anything
But
else.
like a song, like one particular song, you have to sit with it and memorize.
Well, yeah, okay. The way they do that is they have what's called a fake book, F-A-K-E.
Yeah.
And it literally has like about 1,000 melodies. And all it is there's not even any bass clef.
I've seen that book.
It's called a fake book. And what they do is they'll have the basic melody of a song and then the chords on top.
So if you can put chords
and you
in
just
that
take,
melody,
and then what
see
you
the
can do,
chord.
like in popular music, let's do Mary Had a Little Lamb. I'll give you a crude analogy. If I play that song like this, you recognize that melody, right? Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to take my left hand. Here's the scale, okay? Well, listen carefully. See the 7 notes here, or 8 notes? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from here to the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And then from that 5, I'm going to do the octave of the first note. Can you hear it? Now suppose I do Mary Had a Little Lamb and I do something like this. Just crude. See how that kind of sounds?
Mm-hmm. You could put that left chord anywhere on the
keyboard. And you can just do that principle, just the 1st, the 5th, and the octave, just plain. And then you can do a song like, let's say, Anita Baker's My Sweet Love. You may recognize it. You see? Did you hear what I did with my left hand? See? I'll do it again. See? Just something basic like that, and that has a full sound. Mm-hmm. And those are that's a crude analogy, but that's just some of the tricks.
Yeah.
With popular music, and
that's what it seems like when you're talking with friends and they want to hear you play a song. They want to think, this is a song that they're familiar with.
And that's what's fun about that's what's fun with popular music is you can if somebody wants to hear Night and Day, and I must have done that a zillion times in my life. Yeah. Nobody's gonna walk up to you and say, "Well, I want to hear the Prelude in C sharp minor by Rachmaninoff." You heard this song. If you're in a hotel or a cruise ship, I don't think anyone's going to want to hear this.
Unless you're on the Titanic in the movie.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with Rachmaninoff. I think he's a fine composer. But there's just more music out there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that if you're going to be on a cruise ship or a hotel, you're better off if you can get some classical repertoire and your pop stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my advice would be to do the more romantic popular songs like Claire de Lune.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice one. That's my ringtone on my phone, actually.
I'll do it for you a little bit.
I hear it all the time. It's great.
See? These keys don't work as well as I like it.
I wonder if they're sticking again.
Yeah, they are. Joe said it were.
I love how it's all chromatic. There's so many close notes.
Yeah.
So pretty.
Interesting.
See?
Yes.
See, that's very romantic. So that would work on a cruise ship. But some of those, like those little etudes, like those little Chopin etudes, little lightning quick you're gonna like scare your audience away with that.
Yeah.
You know, after about the third time of hearing that for like 5 minutes, you're ready to go drink some hot chocolate or something.
Run around the block jumping.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And I've heard albums where they get these concert piano players and then they play like all like 10 of those E2s on the same album and then all the same thing. You know.
Mm-hmm.
After about the third record, like, man, put something on.
Yeah.
And it's just designed for technique, and I know it's impressive, so I'm not making light of that.
That's a tough thing. I'm not interested in things that are trying to be impressive. Usually.
Yeah, you know,
It's so obvious. It's like that's the only point of what they're doing.
Yeah, so when I do an opera or something like Madame Butterfly. See how lovely it is? Beautiful. And if you're on a concert grand piano instead of these little keyboards, there'd be a big difference.
Do you know Rainbow Connection?
I know of it, but not well to do publicly. So
Yeah, I've heard it on Toddler Tunes many times. Toddler Tunes on Music Choice.
I
Yeah,
want to learn that one.
it's a very nice song.
all right, gentlemen, it's hours up already. See
Fascinating.
how quick this went. So let me make some final acknowledgments. Again, I am Asaph Adonai, your host, and you can see on Asaph Cafe, it's just an impromptu show. We just talk about whatever. And I'm going to make you a copy of this and show it to your friends, and it'll be on Facebook and YouTube.
My mom.
You know. But yeah, I just want the audience to know I wasn't being critical of classical
Oh, yeah,
music.
definitely,
It's just
definitely.
restricting.
Exactly.
You're just telling someone that that's all they have to do. And there are brilliant concert pianists out there like Van Cliburn and all the rest, but it's just such a limited audience for just that genre alone.
Yeah. Well, there can be classical music, but it can be new. It doesn't have to be the same songs.
Right. So, you know, that's all I'm saying, you know. I mean, and even Liberace in 1952 said he didn't think he'd be able to make a living just playing nothing but classical music.
Yeah.
So he would incorporate the classics with his act, and it worked.
Yeah, yeah.
He had the #1 television show in 1952, beating I Love Lucy that year.
Oh, I did not know that. Wow,
Yeah.
amazing.
It was seen in like over 100 countries around the world, that black and white Liberace show.
Yeah.
And it was fresh and it was new. And he'll play like a Chopin nocturne or something and then turn around and do whatever popular song of his time. And it worked. So anyway, thanks for being part of the show, and
Thank you.
I hope you had fun.
I did, definitely.
So this again is Mr. Arlan Bergoust, and of course our aging rocker Emmett. So thank you for being part of this show, and until our next show, Maranatha. That's it.
Nice. It's Maranatha.
Lord